But if you really think about it, most of the things that happen to us can be things that we consider to happen for us. And I'm saying that I'm trying to quote Grant Cardone from the 10X role. He said, I don't let things happen to me. I make things happen for me, or something like that. I'm loosely quoting him. Meaning that every decision you make from the time you wake up during your day, what the outcome of your day is going to be a direct reflection of the decisions that you make.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, family. This is another edition of Tech Niche Tips. I'm your host, Joseph M. Smith, and we have another one for you. Thank you so much for supporting this channel, and I'm actually happy to bring on my guest right now, Paul. Paul is an SDR that went through CourseCareers, and if you can, Paul, I'm excited to let them know about a little bit about your story, but I don't want to steal your thunder. I'm going to let you talk about it, and so you can share exactly what that is. And let me just, before we get into the nitty gritty, just share, how long have you been at SDR for?
Well, I've been at SDR officially since December of 2022.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that's I passed CourseCareers and then got into the role of SDR. Yeah, December. Yep.
Nice. All right. With that being said, I'm going to take a step back. And basically, what we're going to do is what we normally do on this show. We're going to talk about the boots to the brain. Boots is symbolic of the journey one takes to get to where Paul is right now. And the brain is symbolic of the mindset one needs to have, not only to be where Paul is currently, but to scale from there. So without further ado, Paul, we'd love to hear from where you grew up and your background, and take it away from here.
Out of high school, I decided that I wanted to go to the military because college just didn't seem that appealing to me. So I did some time in the United States Navy. I was stationed in Pascagoula, Mississippi, for most of my time there. When I got out of the military, it was really just trying to figure things out as a young adult. I'm in my early 20s, and so I'm just going through life, just trying to figure out what my next move is, what I want to do with myself. Still wasn't feeling like going to college or anything like that at that time. So I just worked here and there. I worked at Target. I worked at several different warehouses, forklifts, all types of manual labor. Work history is all over the place. I've worked pretty much any type of job that you can work in any industry, from restaurants to warehouses and logistics and things like that, to the trucking industry, which is where I most recently worked before I decided to CourseCareers. Um, yeah, just the typical, the typical American story. Either college or military, or straight to the workforce after you get out of high school. Um, not too much, not too much, interest in there, except for the fact that in 2005, when Hurricane Katrina hit, I think that's when a lot of things changed for me as far as like wise. I'm a little older than most. I'm 42 years old. And so, it's hard to like start at a certain point because I don't have way too much history But in 2005, when Hurricane Katrina hit in this place, most of the people that I grew up with and in my family and things like that, I settled in Houston, Texas. I worked. Uh, I started working at a call center. That was my first experience with like relations, like outside of like retail or something like that. On the phones. Was typically a bill collector. I was the guy that would call people and try to shake them down and get whatever is owed to the company at the time. I think we were doing like credit card payments and things like that. So where a bit of my phone experience came from, as far as like people and having to take multiple calls and things like that during the day. And so fast forward to 2013. I was in Houston from 2005 till 2013. I decided to move to Omaha, Nebraska. Needed a change of pace. I was feeling like, I don't know if anybody ever lived in a large city before. As big as Houston is, I think, the fourth largest city, might be the third at this point, largest city in the United States. and it's a pretty big city. I was going through some financial hardships, some personal, struggles and things like that. And so I decided Houston was too big of a city for me to try to regroup. So I moved to Omaha, Nebraska, which is where I reside now. And I started working at this company. Not going to name the company or whatever, but we deliver freight across, and things like that. I worked on the dock as a forklift, operator, just unloading trailers and loading trailers, and just the grind of that. Really, it was a fulfilling job in the way that the money was really good, but I think the term golden handcuffs is a real thing because no matter how much they pay you at a job, if you aren't fulfilled, like if it's not challenging you in a certain way, then I wouldn't recommend that anybody sit and stay at a job just because of the money. And so that's the point that I got to. I worked there for about a good 8 years, and so I got to the point where the job just wasn't fulfilling me anymore. The money really great, like I said, it was amazing, but it just wasn't fulfilling anymore. And then we get to 2020 in the pandemic, and everybody's trying to figure something out. Luckily for me, I had job security and in the industry, at least in my part of the industry, because people had to get their supplies and things like that. So we didn't shut down because of the pandemic, like a lot of other people's businesses shut down. So everything was good. The money was still good. No problems there. It's just that I didn't feel challenged enough. I didn't feel like I was using my full potential. And so I've been bought a lot of books on finance, and then I just been kind of like, I know that they had this trend on Twitter back in the day when a lot of the coal miners were losing their jobs. It was hashtag learn to code. For some reason, that just kept ringing in my head: learn to code, learn to code. So I was like, what is this tech industry all about? So I started delving into it a little bit more, and I ran across a podcast with AO, Anthony O'Neill, and a lot of people's good friends, Cyrus Harbin. And, he was about, CourseCareers and careerists. They were speaking about CourseCareers and careerists in there and saying how you can get into tech without any technical knowledge. Like you don't have to know how to code or anything like that. And so I was like, wow, I've been really interested in tech lately. And this seems like the perfect opportunity. So I took, the discount code. I think it was AO's discount code from that podcast. I might be mistaken. I know Cyrus had a discount code too. So I took the little discount code. I think it was like you can attest to that. I think you went to CourseCareers, $550 or something like that, or $450 to sign up if you use the discount code. Signed up. Probably spent some money I didn't have at the time, to be honest with you. But I figure, it's $500, $600. I can recover from this. I'm just gonna, dive straight in, because anything I do in life, I try not to second guess it if I feel strongly about it. So I felt strongly about this, so I dive right in and fast forward to now, working in this position. That's how I got into CourseCareers. From the time I started working until the time I got interested in tech.
Hey there, thank you so much for watching this video. This video is actually sponsored by CourseCareers. So whether you're interested in breaking in as a tech sales representative, if you're interested in actually doing IT or digital marketing, not only do they have free introductory courses for you right now, go to the description and check that out, but they also have $50 off that you could get through me, Joseph50. That's right, $50 off through Joseph50. So if you're interested in getting into that course, any which one, whether it's, again, tech sales, IT, or digital marketing, look no further. Go down to the description below, click on the link, and sign up right now. What are you waiting for? I think there's a lot of things that you said that I want to definitely talk about. I want to go back specifically to when you said, I'm 42, right? And
Yeah.
I was thinking about that because you're saying I'm older than most. But there's a lot of people that I know of who are right where you are, who are saying, man, am I too old? I'm not saying you said this, but this is what I'm hearing during coaching sessions and things of that nature. They say, hey, am I too old to get into tech? Can I do this? And I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, man, you are now their spokesperson for people that may say like, hey, I'm in my 40s. Hey, I'm a little bit older. Like I'm a little bit like wondering if I can still make that transition. And you're testifying to that. And here's the thing. My question to you is, going back to your background, how many transferable skills were you able to take into tech?
A whole lot, a
Mm.
whole lot, especially on like the retail. If you've ever worked in retail or at a call center or any type of customer facing, whether it's over the phones or in person, tech sales would not be a hard transition for you, because I know a lot of people at some point in their lives, young or older, have worked in some sort of retail or some sort of call center background or something like that. Because those are the jobs you get without any college degree experience or what have you. But I would say that a lot of it is transferable from the because you have to have some sort of skills, customer service skills when you are in the SDR or BDR position, because a lot of it is knowing how to talk to people, knowing how to respond to people, and customer service teaches you a lot of that. So if you have a strong customer service background, then this will be about the easiest transition you can make into tech sales.
Paul, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Having a custom, I was a heavy before I got into tech sales or even sales. Forget about tech sales. Before I even
Yeah.
got to sales, I was heavy in customer service and administrative work.
Hmm.
And I realized that the organizational skills that I developed in being an administrator and the people skills that I developed in customer service lended itself tremendously to tech sales, because you have to be able to communicate with people and be able to talk to people. Now, let me ask you this. You said something that was also very good. You talked about sales. Can you talk a little bit more about like the what you've learned previous to
Hmm.
sales versus what you learned when you took course careers?
Okay, now I do have a sales background. I got a pretty interesting sales background. I used to work for a company that no longer exists no more, so I'm going to say their name. I'm pretty sure they don't exist no more. It was called World Team Direct. We would walk around with a box of random items and go business to business, parking lot to parking lot, and try to sell those items to people. Uh, that was my first introduction to sales. I was in between jobs. I was looking for something. I was rent was getting behind. That was one of them jobs that no background check, no anything. They just hire you. I saw why once I got there. It was a pretty funky operation, but I mean, you really learn to talk to people and learn how to cold approach people in that industry. I wouldn't call it an industry at all. We were selling trinkets basically, but you walk up to people, you had your sales pitch. They really taught you a lot of like ground level, entry level sales tips and things like that, and strategies to be able to get people's interest level enough to where they're ready to buy something that they didn't even know they needed or wanted before you approach them. So I started out there. Then I worked for an insurance company. I worked for Mutual of Omaha, which is one of the largest insurance companies in the country, in the world probably. I worked with them as a sales rep slash customer service rep. It was like a dual role or whatever. And that is where I learned more of the skills that translated directly into what I'm doing right now as an SDR BDR. Because all we would do is qualify, you know, what we would have to do is we would assist the customer in whatever their needs were with their insurance policy. And it was part of our job to try to sell them more insurance, or at least talk them up to a point where they feel like they may be interested in buying more insurance, and then transfer them over to the actual insurance sales rep or whatever. So there was a lot of sales and talking, and trying to asking certain questions to try to figure out what their need was to try to get them over to that sales rep. So those skills directly translated into what I'm doing now as SDR slash BDR.
Perfect. That's honestly what I believe is the case. It's just same, almost the same skills, but like it's almost valued in different ways.
Hmm.
Especially when you're in tech. Let's go back to course careers, because
Uh-huh.
I think a lot of people want to kind of see or kind of get a better understanding. They're like trying to figure out, okay, should I do course careers? Should I not? And they want to kind of get a better understanding of how was how long it take to finish the course. Because you're a father, right? You like myself, and we have responsibilities. And then on top of that, you got to add this course. So can you talk to them about the difficulty level for yourself personally, of how it was to go through the course, what your experiences, what was going through that course?
Well, time is very valuable when you have children and you work a demanding job such as the one that I was working. I was working about 55 hours a week at the job that I was working before I started in tech sales, and also I would have my kids every single weekend. As soon as I would get off from my job, I would go pick up my kids and and spend the weekend with them. So juggling time between work and family is very difficult. But I think it's about your mindset going into it. You have to have the mindset that this is what I'm going to do, and there's no excuse in the world that can stop me from doing it. I just eliminated any excuse in my mind. Those weren't excuses; those were just hurdles, so to speak, to get over. Not an excuse not to do it. So what I did was I operate a forklift I operated a forklift at my role, as a dock worker prior to getting into this role, and I would have my earbuds in. Most of the time, I would be listening to music while I'm unloading and loading trailers because I've been there so long to it's just I could do that with my eyes closed. So I'd be sitting there going through the lessons uh, while I'm at work, the whole time I'm at work, and then I would get home and I would do like a quick refresher on like 2x speed. I would turn up. That's the cheat code for me, by the way, too. I would turn the lessons on like 2x speed or 1.5 times speed. The talking portions of them,
Yeah,
because I cannot sit for a long time and listen to, what I'm saying, just listen to a lecture or a lesson.
yeah.
I'm very like I have to keep moving. So I would turn the speed up, and then get to the assessment portions and things like that, and go through the assessments once I got home. After I'd already listened to it, on regular speed at the job. So that's how I fit the time in to get through the course. I literally would pull it up on my phone, put in my Bluetooth earbuds, and listen to it while I was working, like, and then come home and then do a quick refresher and then do all the assessments and everything like that.
So like, yeah, that's actually something that I think I did a couple of times where I would listen to it multiple times to
Hmm.
reinforce what I'm doing. And I don't think we realize the power of I don't want to say multitasking, but it's almost like compounding that sort of that experience where you might be doing something and you're passively listening to it while you're working or you're
Yeah,
doing a task. But there's something to be said, like when you do that and then you got to go back again, you realize how much stuff you started to like remember even when you were just like you said, you're working forklift. For me, it was putting my toddler to sleep while I'm listening or reading, and you don't realize how much things you're catching
yeah,
while you're going through that. So I think that's a good tip for anybody who's doing this. Is like, listen, we're fathers of I'm gonna speak for myself. I'm father of six. My brother has children as well, and we had jobs that were demanding, and we
hmm,
still made it happen. So if you are on the precipice of thinking like, hey, I don't know if I can get this done because of my age, because of my responsibilities. I mean, hey, we did it. You could do it too.
yeah.
Ain't nothing special with us. We just decided to put our head down and go after it.
That's all.
That's it. And let me ask you this: how long did it take you to complete the course?
It took me about a month, because
Woo.
that last week of that month, I was really like studying and making sure I rehashed things that we learned from the reading materials and things like that. Also, something I did on audio, the reading materials that we had, even though I had went back and bought physical copies just because the reading material was that good. I listened to that on audio too.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That was my thing too. Like, I didn't want to wait for a physical copy to come. I was like, let me get this started. So I literally listened to how to influence friends on YouTube. There's like an old recording of it. I listened to that,
Hmm.
and then I found something off of like SoundCloud for the other book, and by that time the books came. So I,
Yeah,
I did spin selling when I actually had a copy of that book. But like you said, like there's you have to find a way to kind of get it done if you
yeah,
don't have the means. I like that, man.
yeah.
Any I get this all the time. people are concerned about the final exam for course careers. Like people are like, oh, how hard is it? How difficult is it? You know, I'm not gonna lie. There's moments where I was a little stressed about it too, because I'm like, I
Yeah,
had so much riding on it. Like I had a timetable of like I need to get into tech by X, Y, and Z time because financially we needed it. Like my
yeah.
wife is gonna be on maternity leave. We have no income coming in besides what I'm making at my job previously. How was the final exam for you?
The final exam, there were some challenging parts. Like there were certain written parts that were challenging, but if you don't overthink it, then you'll do just fine. And also use whatever study materials are available to you. I think didn't they have like some flashcards or something like that, like a that you can go through to like for study materials or something like that.
I think they did, and they also have the practice one that you could take prior to it to get an idea of how the test is going to flow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the practice. But I got most of my prep in using those flashcards because basically a lot of it is knowing the terminology and things like that you have to know going into the SDR BDR role and a lot of the different like the types of people that you're going to be dealing with, like the buyer personas and things like that, your ideal customer profiles, and learning how to identify those and things of that nature. So if you really just hone in on the key points that they drive during the course, then you'll pretty much pass that thing without too much of a struggle.
Yeah, I think that they do provide enough resources, and if you go over the material, you definitely will be good for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Now, with the next phase, which is I think another milestone for people, right? You complete the course, you do the final exam, you may even get your certificate. But now it's that period between when you are waiting for, you finish the course to when you get the job. How long did it take you to actually land a job in tech?
Well, to be honest with you, after I changed my banner on LinkedIn and updated my LinkedIn profile, um, I would say 3 weeks into the course, I started receiving some interest from different companies and things like that. I guess I got lucky. I don't know what other people's process was, but recruiters were reaching out to me just based on the updated LinkedIn profile by itself. And so by the time I finished the course, because I started the course in October, I finished in November. By the time I finished the course, I was already like fielding different offers from different organizations wanting to schedule time with me and things like that. I think I had about 3 or 4 different companies that reached out to me.
And you were getting offer letters already by that time, or you were
Not
just
not necessarily offer
okay?
letters. Just people wanting to those initial recruiter phone screenings or whatever
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I was getting people reaching out.
And did you get an offer from any of those initial screenings?
Yeah, yeah, I did,
Wow.
I did.
Wow.
And,
Uh,
and I took the offer. It's a local company. They're a tech company. I wouldn't call them a startup anymore. They've been in it for a while, but they're not IPO yet. So they're in the process of getting IPO ready. But yeah, they reached out to me and they were local. They're literally like 10 minutes away from my house. So it's an in office position. They label it as hybrid, but mostly in office. You get to work from home 1 day a week, which is nice. But that remote, I'm still wanting to know what that's like. To be honest with you, to work like fully remotely.
well, I could
I
tell
don't know.
you,
Maybe you could tell me something about that.
I've enjoyed it. I would say, but prior to tech, there was another company that I was doing remote slash hybrid for, and then during the pandemic, I moved to a solar company that I was working with, and they went fully remote with their. I mean, I didn't have a. I guess it would be like a solar rep or sales rep,
Hmm.
inside sales rep. It wasn't a particular name, but the work we did was kind of what SDRs did in a way. We were
Okay.
setting it up. We were part of the team that set it up for the sales rep. Now, if you want to define it according to what we learned in course careers,
Hmm.
we were the ones that basically did the discovery portion of it. So they had teams that did
Oh,
like the
really?
outreach.
Every single portion?
Yeah. So yeah, and it wasn't crazy discoveries because it was like written questions and certain criterias that we have to make sure that they qualify for before we have one of our reps go out there. So I was doing that remotely. So I can tell you for a fact that we're working remote. It's a good thing, man. Because for me personally, I'm a homebody most of the times. I could go
Mhm.
out. I'm like an omnivert, as they say, or ambivert. That's the word, ambivert. Where I'm social, but I don't mind my alone time, and so I could just wake up, brush my teeth, come downstairs to my office, start work. And so that loss of commute time, all those different things are great. And in between breaks, you could go for a walk, you could go, do what you need to do, and that is more in tech than anything else in regards to
Yeah.
the freedom that you can experience in regards to working from home. But let me backtrack to Course Careers, the course one more time. If you could change anything that you did to become more successful in the course, and for everybody that's listening right now, maybe you want to take out your paper and pens or write in the comment section below. But if there is any particular thing that you could have done differently to be more successful into getting the job, not necessarily passing the course, but like to get the job sooner or whatever, what would you have done differently?
Course Careers has an amazing Discord community that you can reach out to and network with different people in there and things like that. Ask questions and trade, trade information. Do practice mock interviews with some of the people in there. I probably would have interacted more with the Course Careers Discord in the social community or whatever, because I think there's a lot of value in people that are on the same path as you or with the same mindset as you, trying to get to a common goal, and you guys kind of like sharpening each other's swords or whatever, in that regard. I probably would have done that more.
Absolutely. I think that's a great call out. It's because the community that they have at Course Careers, you guys are on the same path. You guys are going for the same
Right.
job, but guess what? Next, you never know who's going to be the next SDM, next sales manager. You never know who's going to be where. So it's funny, even though you guys are on the same, even though we're on the same tier, you never know who's going to go where, and just be able to connect with people and just to get to know them, it's a great experience, especially when they're on the same path like Course Career. So that was a good call. I didn't even think about that before, but yeah, absolutely connecting with the people that are there. So now you took 3 weeks to get into your job. Let's talk about the interview process. Like, did you apply to these jobs through the Course Careers way? Did you mass apply? I know you received a lot of inquiry from companies already. Can you kind of talk a little bit more about that process for you?
I basically did all of my reaching out or applying through LinkedIn. Um, I didn't even because like I said, I technically was already applying like before because I wanted to like just go straight into it after I finished. So I was just applying about a week or two before I finished anyway. So, um, but the company that I ended up going with, they reached out to me. I didn't even apply to them. They reached out to me like first, and that's how I got linked with that company. But yeah, I didn't do too much mass applying. I was being a little bit more selective as far as like, kind of like going through the job descriptions and things like that, and seeing what type of tech or what type of tech they sold. I was specifically making sure that if I was going to do the SDR BDR role, that it was with a tech company, because you can be a sales development rep or a business development rep for a non-tech company, but I wanted the tech company experience. So that's one thing I was trying to filter through and make sure that I was doing when I was applying to these different companies and things like that. And you'll know the reason why I specifically sought out only tech companies. I guess later on in the interview.
Ooh, okay. I want to find that out. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I'm not gonna say any particular companies' names, but I know some companies that actually put SDR, but it's not really an SDR position. I mean, it's more of a
Yeah,
customer, more B2C versus B2B.
yeah.
And so, can you talk a little bit about your experience trying to navigate away from those and trying to get to real tech companies?
Well, and that's why I like the filter system on LinkedIn, because you can filter out a lot of those companies that try to sneak in with the title of SDR, BDR, and it's really like mainly the main ones who kind of like toe the line of trying to mask like they're an SDR BDR role is
Hmm.
insurance companies. Like there's a lot of
Mm.
insurance companies that'll reach out to you, based on your prior sales experience or whatever, and they'll have something called it'll be worded like inside sales rep or something like that, but
Yep.
and they'll reach out to you, based on your sales experience on your LinkedIn profile and stuff like that. And I've sold insurance before, but it was, I was in house selling insurance. I'm not interested in going door to door to sell insurance or anything like that, or beating up the pavement, or knocking on doors and things like that, or building my own book or anything like that. So that's a lot of the filtering I was doing when I was when I would go through my searches on LinkedIn, is making sure it was with a tech company, and that they did have a remote option. Ultimately, I didn't go with a remote company, and and I'm kind of glad I didn't. We'll talk about that in a minute. But just doing things like that, making sure that you don't have to be with a tech company, but I mean, that's what I got into this for, to break into tech, in the easiest, most simple way possible. Um, Not saying that easy is always the best, but I had a whole life going on, so I wanted to pivot, but I didn't want to have to like knock my whole life off track and be facing eviction to do it. So yeah, so yeah, just make sure it's a tech company, and make sure that they you have to know what the company does. Like do some research on the company. Go to Glassdoor. Go to all these different places where you can. Where's this other place that I go to? Um, I can't remember the name of this.
RepView, not
Rep,
RepView, right?
RepView. RepView.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, you go to Glassdoor. Go to RepView. Research the company. Read some reviews. But don't put too much stock in the person's review of the company, I would say, because a lot of people that leave negative reviews are, your disgruntled employees for whatever reason, or they just weren't cut out to be an SDR, BDR. So they're going to sour your perception of the company. How I would say, as far as reviews, is if you're really interested in the company, reach out to the reach out to somebody who works for the company on LinkedIn, and who's working in the role that you're working in, and ask them, hey, so how do you like working at this company? What's this like? What's that like? Have a set of questions to ask them. People on LinkedIn are very helpful. They'll tell you about the company that they're working for, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you can decide for yourself if that's something you want to pursue. Or if you say you have an interview for a company, make sure you've already reached out to a couple of the SDR, BDRs in that role, or some people in the higher up positions, and see who responds back to you, I would say.
That's a great piece of advice because going into my job or my company, I went to Glassdoor and there was a layoff right before that, and I
Hmm.
saw a whole slew of yeah to like negative reviews. And at
Right.
first, I was like, "Man, am I making the right decision?" But I realized that I looked at that and I said, "Oh, okay, I see a trend here." And then I saw some reviews from a little bit earlier and some reviews from a little bit later, and they were all good. So it was just that particular part. So doing your research and also just kind of using wisdom to say, okay, this is what is this about?
Right.
That definitely does help you and set you apart. So let's go a little bit more into the interview process because even though they reached out to you, uh, tech companies are notorious for having long interviews. Like mine was like five. They said it was 3 rounds, but it was like every probably the second and third round had two separate interviews. So
Hmm.
so it could add up, right? So how long was the interview process for you?
This one was not that long compared to other ones that I've heard. So it started with the recruiter, for the who works internally for the company. She's a recruiter for that company. Um, she works for because I know there's some external recruiters that will just pull in people, but so she reached out to me. She saw my information on LinkedIn. She thought I might be a good fit, so we scheduled a call. And I had a call with her. It's like the pre-screening portion of the process. So after that call, thanks to CourseCareers, I asked, so what are the next steps, or whatever, and when should about and what timeline should I be expecting, you guys to follow up with me, regardless, whether it's yes or no. And she let me know what to expect next. And so I think later that day, I guess she decided that they would go forward with the interview process. So she sent me an email, and I responded to the email. I think the following week is when I had my first like interview. It was an in-person interview since it is a company that's local. So I went up to the office, and we did the interview with the director of the sales department, and I think one of the regional sales managers were in on the interview, and so and also my recruiter, she greeted me and everything, and kind of took me on a tour of like the facilities and things like that, and showed me it's a really cool building. They have a bar where they open up the taps at 4:30, and and they serve beer and wine, or you can bring whatever alcohol you want to at 4:30. 4:30 is our happy hour, pretty much. We're not off till 5, but 4:30. We have a little area where you can play ping pong. We have a section of the building where you can play video games on your break. We have a little patio that's connected to where the bar area is, where you can at any time during the day, if you feel like you're getting overwhelmed with things, just go have a coffee and sit out on the patio. For 10-20 minutes, it doesn't matter. As long as you hitting your marks as far as like what you're supposed to do, at least for sales, like your call count and things like that, are where they're supposed to be. Then just take it easy. We have little golf putting ranges all over the building. Like a lot of the guys at my company are really big into golf, and so there's just putting ranges all over the place. When you want to get up and stretch your legs, you just go grab a little putter and or a little wedge and do some chip shots. And it's just a really cool building. I think that's what drew me in initially. And then, so we had the interview and everything like that. We that went well, I think. And then the next part of the process was a job shadow, where they would this was virtual. They would it's a Zoom meeting where you would link up on Zoom, and one of the leads, or one of the top reps, would kind of like walk you through what they do on a day to day and everything like that. And then after the job shadow, then whatever the feedback is from the rep. I didn't learn this until after I got the job, because I saw other reps doing job shadows or whatever. So whatever the feedback is from the rep, during the job shadow, if you were asking the right questions and interested enough to stay engaged and not on your phone while they're trying to walk you through the thing, then they give you a call back, and then they offer you the position. So it's like 3 rounds, a little softball, introduction with the recruiter, the real interview, and then the job shadow, and then they call you back and offer you the position, or they email you and offer you the position.
Wow, now I can see why you want to work in the office. You got a lot of
Yeah.
stuff, a lot of perks going on there. Oh man, so let's talk about that now. That we got through the interview process, you got hired. What it's like working, particularly for your job. Of course, you don't have to mention any names, but what is it like working in with these perks? Are there more perks in this? Like, can you talk about the different perks that you have working in the office? Because a lot of people want to work remote. You actually
Yeah.
pointed out something about working in the office that I think some people might be like, maybe it's not that bad. Can you talk a little bit more about the perks?
Now, working remote is probably amazing. But I think for me, what the benefit to working in person is, especially since I'm new to the to the BDR role, is being able to directly lean on other people that are more experienced than you, actually listening to them while they're on their calls, and how they're handling their calls and things like that. And I think that experience is priceless. I wouldn't trade it for remote work at this point in my career. Um, After I've experienced it already, of course. Just being next to the people, and the energy in the room is different. We have a whole lot of sales reps. We're split up into about 6 different teams of reps, and we call out on different regions and things like that of the United States. And so just the energy in the room, like when we're trying to hit our weekly goal, just and when we're trying to hit that monthly goal, and just it's a different type of energy, and everybody in there is like minded. We're all doing the same job. We all have the same, so to speak, type of personality. We're all go getters. We're all hungry. We're all aggressive. We're all team oriented. It's a really really good energy to be around if you're working in the office versus working remotely. Which again, I don't knock. I wouldn't mind working remotely fully, but I'm also not mad at the experience I've gained so far. Working in the office, and with still the one remote day option.
Yeah, I think that people's personalities gravitate to either one. There's some people who are like, yeah, I want to be in the office. I want to smell it. I want to feel it. I want to be around that energy, like you said. And
Right.
then there's some people that are like, hey, no, just leave me in my space. I'll just show up and do what I need to do. And then, yes, we could chat with each other. We could go on Zoom and have our meetings. But I just like to be in my little corner.
Yeah.
So,
I would
I,
love that too. To be honest
yeah,
with you, I'm a hybrid. I can do either one because when
yeah.
I'm working from home, it's a different type of feeling too. It's like I'm at peace. I think sometimes my calls go a lot better because I I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know how many people have said this out loud, but I need some level of distraction from specifically work, like a minor level of distraction from work to be to perform at my maximum level. If I'm too focused on
Mm,
exactly what I'm doing, then I tend to overthink it. That's just me, and that's how I operate. So if I have some level in working from home, gives me that minor distraction. I'm still focused on work. I'm still locked in, but I'm at home. So the distraction of being at home, it works to my benefit. Once I identified a good healthy balance between working at home and be still being locked into whatever you have to do for the day. So
nice.
I think if I do end up working another role at some point for another company. I mean, because there's always other opportunities that come up that may be a little more lucrative once you get into this into the tech space. It's not uncommon to go at another opportunity if it benefits you more. So if I ever do get into a remote role, then I know the balance at least. You know what I'm saying? I know what it's like working in the office, and I know I'm capable of working at home.
Hey, family, it's Joseph here again. Now, you have heard me talk about how tech sales has changed my life. I actually want to introduce you to another career that, if you decide to go into it, truly is recession proof, and that is cybersecurity. Level Careers is a platform similar to CourseCareers that's self paced and allows you to obtain knowledge and education in cybersecurity. And get this, without prior experience or a degree. That's right. And so you definitely want to get into that. And if you are interested in learning more about cybersecurity, go ahead and click the link below. It's in my description, and use my promo code Joseph10. That's right. Use my promo code Joseph10 in order to save 10% off of the purchase price of that course. So without further ado, I'm not going to delay you. Go click on the link, check out the free introductory courses, and change your life today.
Yeah, yeah. I think that also just to kind of piggyback on that, I don't think anything's wrong with working remote at all. Depending on like for example what you said, like there's opportunities not only to, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but you're not only just interacting and getting that energy, but you're networking as well.
Hmm.
People get to see who you are, they see your personality, they see how you work, and they say,
Yeah.
hey, I like how Paul works. One thing that a person that I interviewed before said that I thought was very interesting, depending on what role you have, if you are hired into another company, especially a company that's like a customer of yours, that's actually seen as a good thing for the company because now they have like the man on the inside at that particular company. And if that customer, let's say it was a customer of your particular company that you're going to, then
Hmm.
they already have a line of communication with you. So that I think is a really cool thing just to kind of throw in there if anybody's interested in regards to transitioning from different jobs. But another question I have for you, because you did say this earlier, you have a lot of experience prior to tech. What would you say are the major differences from the other companies that you worked for to the company that you're working for right now?
Culture. I would say
Mm,
culture. Um, Working, in the corporate environment itself, there's a certain there's a certain type of culture that depending on what company you work for and how big the corporation is, or small the corporation is, there's a certain grind that you can expect from a non-tech company versus, so far what I've experienced, a tech company. The tech company culture is just more laid back. Like I told you, we have a bar in our in our office, and
Yeah.
they open up tap at 4:30. We have ping pong tables, video game. It's really like we want you to work, we want you to grind, but also like if you need a moment, just relax. It's fine. Like what I'm saying. Like you'll be more productive if you're not tense and you're not So it's less of a. I think they care more, or at least they do a good job of appearing to care more about the employees' comfortability and well being over what you came to do, because they know they both go hand in hand. The more comfortable you are, the less stressed that you are, the better you'll work, most likely. And I think most tech companies, from what I'm hearing and from what I've experienced, have found out that healthy balance between your comfort level and your in lower stress levels to actually getting the work done.
Yeah, that I think that it's something that is becoming a bit more of, I won't say mainstream, that's not the word I'm looking for, but more common. Maybe that's a better word. Where companies are starting to recognize, like, hey, if we could provide an environment that's conducive, that's reducing stress, that we'll see a greater level of productivity. And I agree, like you definitely will see a greater
Yeah,
level of productivity. And it seems to be that tech companies are the ones that are doing it, so that way the town doesn't leave to go to other companies.
yeah,
So we'll see how other companies outside of tech adapt to that.
right.
Now, we want to be transparent here, and one of the things we want to do is not we talk about the great stuff about tech, but do you find anything challenging about working in tech since you've been in the industry?
In the SDR BDR role, it is a grind. It is very much so a grind, and your what you make is, of course you have your base salary, which is cool, if you got a nice base salary, but your bonuses and your incentives and your commissions and things like that are directly, I'm talking about extreme, like super directly related to the amount of effort that you put in. So if you come into the role and you think you can just take it easy and and cut corners here and there, oh, I don't like making calls. I'm going to focus more on this. So I'm going to focus. The more you, whatever, let's say the company, I don't know, it's a company that's been around for some years. If they have a structure in place and tell you, hey, this is what you should do, this is what you need to do, and this is the metrics that you need to be hitting to make sure you're hitting your goal, try to the best of your ability to hit all those metrics, because they're there for a reason. And if you
Mm,
and I've learned from experience, month to month, if you cut corners anywhere in that process, then you will see it on the back end. Like they say in
mm,
fanatical prospecting, right?
yep,
If you have a great month in sales, right? You're just setting meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. You're doing great. You've done terrific. You're expecting effect, bonus plus stretch. Great for you. But if you haven't done your prospecting that month at all, you've been so focused on setting the meetings that you haven't focused on your prospecting, the next month you may not feel it as much, but that following month you will feel it.
yep,
You will feel it. So if you make sure that you're doing everything that you're supposed to do, your prospecting, your emails, they may not seem important. A lot of people don't respond to the emails, but send them out anyway. You never know. I know reps for a fact. I know reps that get one or two deals a month based off of email outreach. They may have to send out hundreds of emails per
yep.
month, but you want to leave that on the table? Because I don't. You know,
That's right.
so like do your email outreach, do your prospecting for sure. Prospecting is key in this position. If anybody at any job that you work at tell you it's not that important, either they're very lucky or they're misleading you. You
Yep.
have to prospect to make sure that you're keeping that pipeline full, because what's going to happen is you're going to be going through your book, and you're going to realize you're calling the same people multiple times throughout the month. And then you get to the next month, they're tired of hearing from you already. Eventually, they're going to block you. They're not going to answer the phone. They're not going to respond to emails. So how do you circumvent the people that are going to fall off? You have to prospect.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely have to do it. You definitely have to do it. And there's a science behind it too.
Yeah.
Can't get too deep into that right now, but there's a science behind how you should do those emails. I mean, honestly, emails, I'll do them, but they're not my strongest suit. Get me on the phone with somebody, like you. I had background in customer service and sales on the phone. So let me get on the phone with somebody, right? But I'm challenging myself for the remainder of this year to really kind of be intentional about these emails, because I know people that make their quota off of emails. You know what I mean? So imagine if you could make your quota off of emails, and then you could just do your calls. Like how much more is that bonus check going to look at the end of the day, right? One quick thing to add to what you said about the pipeline. I recently came back from paternity leave this probably a day or two ago, and I literally had to start from scratch because of the amount of time that I took. And that feeling was kind of weird. It's like, man, like I there's people that I had in my pipeline, of course, that had, because of the business responsibilities, they had to kind of give to other people. But I was like, I know there's a couple of people in there that, I was so close. And if I could have came back to them, we'd be good. But the nature of the business is one that it's gonna keep on going whether you're there or not. So, so that's one of the things that it will definitely do. You said something about cutting corners. I want to go back to that, because some people might be like, what do you mean cutting corners? I mean, you kind of alluded to it, but have you seen examples of people cut corners and how it affected them? Because I think people want to if the people get a more vivid image of that, then they could decide whether being an SDR is the right thing for them or not.
Well, with being transparent, I know from experience, like there was a certain point where I was just going through the motions. I just, for whatever reason, I just wasn't that focused on the task at hand, and I felt it that month for sure. I felt it that month. Like when I say cutting corners, like, okay, so if you're supposed to make a certain amount of dials per day, make sure that make those dials count. Because I mean, on paper, let's say you're supposed to make 50 calls a day. I'm not going to tell you how many I make, because you might fall out your chair. If you're supposed to make 50 calls a day, and on paper you've made 60 calls, but 20 of them, maybe 30 of them were direct to straight to voicemail calls or whatever like that. Yeah, on paper you made 50 calls, and and that's great and everything like that. But how many people did you actually get to speak with? So if like organize your day in a way that it's optimal for you to get the most conversations as possible. If you know for a fact that this number that you're calling goes straight to voicemail every time you call it, maybe it's time to push that one out of the book and get something different in your book, because that's just a free dial. Yeah, it boosts your numbers in that area, but you're not really getting anywhere. It's not helping you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In things like that. And also, so you can't be afraid. I think this was in the book that we read, Fanatical Prospecting, or either Fanatical Prospecting. You can't be afraid to interrupt
people's day.
For a fact, you can't be afraid to interrupt. You almost have to have no conscience about it at all. Unless somebody tells you, hey, my dog just got hit by a car, I'm rushing to the hospital right now, I can't talk right now, I would say don't be afraid to interrupt. Like in the industry I work in, it's on LinkedIn. I work for a company called Builder Trend. We sell a software to construction workers to help them streamline their process on the project management side of things. Streamline their whole process. So these guys are always busy, right? Yep. No matter when you call them, they're always busy, because when you're a construction business owner, most of these guys are in the field with the guys, and they're picking up a hammer and nails, and they're doing the work themselves too. You would think that they'd be in the office with their feet up, but no, these guys are workers, these construction guys. So, you're always going to call them at the wrong time. Every time, the whole day is the wrong time for them. Don't be afraid to like push it a little bit more, especially if they're willing to talk to you. Don't be so quick to give up on the call when somebody says they're busy, you know,
Yeah,
or something like that. Because most of the time, you know, if you can kind of slow the conversation down and tell them the reason why you're calling and what you and what you have to offer on the front end, they'll want to have more of a conversation. Not most of the time, but you know, some of the time they'll want to have more of a conversation. Oh, wait, what's this? Oh, what do you guys? Oh, okay, so you guys do this because they get calls all day. Trust me, you know, if you're a business owner, you get calls all day from all types of people trying to sell you all types of things. A lot of it is useless, but like if you know you have something to offer, you believe in your company's product or their or their software, then you know that what you have is not a waste of their time, but something that's probably going to help them save time, save money. You know, so don't be afraid to interrupt those people because you're offering something that can help them at the end of the day, and it's going to help you. The more of those people that you get to accept that meeting.
that's right, and that's the name of the game. That's how you get paid, is how many people you can get through the pipeline as an SDR, and get them to another part of the sales cycle. Now, people are curious about this. I don't give exact figures on my channel, but I want to kind of give a picture to people regarding the quota. So they're like, quota, you have to get quota, great. Bonuses, incentives, things of that nature, cool. What kind of figures can people be, and this is again is a ballpark figure, it is not specific to you, so everybody listening, it's not what Paul is saying that he's making right now, but in regards to the incentives, what's the difference that from like somebody's pay if they make quota or if they don't make quota? Do you have like a ballpark figure, like what the difference could be?
Um, it can be arranged if you versus when you make quota to don't make quota,
Yeah.
because even the best of the best reps, some of them don't hit quota every month. I've seen, I mean, in my job, I've seen people hit quota month after month after month after month consecutively for like 11 to 12 months straight. But it's not uncommon for you to miss quota like maybe three times out of the year, like
Hmm.
if you're on a monthly. So I would say the difference between making quota and not making quota is about a I would say about a 30% swing
Hmm.
on average to what you can be expected to make.
That's a lot.
So you yeah, so you're incentivized to make sure that you're hitting your quotas. And there's other metrics that you can hit that'll get you other bonuses and things like that. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but um, yeah, yeah, the difference between quota and not quota. I would say just based on my experience and what I'm seeing, you know, on these when you look at the pay breakdown, is a good 25 to 30% swing. But not saying you have to hit quota every single month, or you won't, or it's going to be that difference. You know what I'm saying? But you know, if you consistently hitting quota, then you'll make some decent money.
Yeah, that's an incentive for anybody who's thinking about whether or not tech sales is a good, viable source of income. That's a huge amount. 30%, it's a huge amount. So what we're gonna be wrapping up very soon here, and I wanted to kind of talk about the mindset. What is a mindset you would say somebody needs to have to be where you, not just to be where you are, but to scale from there? And if you even could talk about what I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but what are some plans that you have in regards to your career trajectory? What do you want to do? Where you want to go? But yeah, if you probably could put that in a nice ball together.
Okay, so the interesting thing we're going to talk about my career trajectory. That's interesting because you know I am in the SDR role.
Yeah.
Hopefully, do you talk to people that are from different areas of the tech industry though?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So this will be relevant to this conversation. Okay, so the as far as mindset, and this goes with anything you do in life, but since we're talking careers here, you have to have a no excuse mindset. Personally, like give yourself no room for excuses at all. I know things are going to happen that are seemingly out of your control, but if you really think about it, most of the things that happen to us can be things that we consider to happen for us. Like, and I'm saying that I'm trying to quote Grant Cardone from the 10X role. He said I don't let things happen to me. I make things happen for me, or something like that. I'm loosely quoting him,
Yeah.
meaning that every decision you make from the time you wake up during your day, what the outcome of your day is going to be a direct reflection of the decisions that you make. So yeah, you might be on the way to work and there's traffic, but if you would have left 15 minutes earlier, that wouldn't be the biggest of that wouldn't be the biggest deal. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Yes, I live 20, and this is personal. We're getting real personal, real transparent. I live 10 minutes away from the house. There was a period where I would show up consistently late for work because I took for granted that I lived 10 minutes away from the house. They
Mm.
started doing construction work, road work on my route to work, and that would put me behind like 5 minutes every day. It would take me 15, 20 minutes sometimes to get to work. Um, so what I started doing was I had to change my mindset. I'm gonna leave the house 30 minutes early now. I don't
Yeah.
care if I live 10 minutes away. I don't know what's gonna happen out there, but I'm gonna make sure I prepare for it. So preparation and mindset is important in achieving anything you want to do in this industry. If we're speaking specifically about your career trajectory and things like that. And
Yeah.
as far as me, what's coming for me, um, I am recently I recently became very interested in cybersecurity
Mm.
because I've always wanted to break into tech. This was just my way in. I love being in SDR, BDR, but I don't see that as a path for me as far as like moving through to account executive and moving through that path. I'm gonna pivot all the way into the cybersecurity side of things. I've seen enough. I've heard enough. I've done enough research to know that the way that my mind works and the way that I think, the way that I like to analyze and problem solve and things like that. That cybersecurity is the route for me. So I've been taking some introductory courses on a site called Try Hack Me. That's for people who want to get into cybersecurity. That's an
Try
amazing
hack me.
tool. Yeah,
Got it.
tryhackme.com. It's a
Like
it's
that.
a free resource, but there's a paid version of it where you can open up and and get more access to like the little miniature courses that they teach and things like that. I reached out to and that's the good thing about working at a tech company. A couple months ago, I reached out to the cybersecurity, the SOC team at my job. I reached out to maybe three or four of them. Like I said, outreach, networking, connecting with people.
That's
I
right.
reached out to three or four of them. Two or three of them messaged me back, and we set up a meeting. We scheduled a meeting room or whatever, and they were more than happy to tell me the various roles and what they do in cybersecurity, and kind of guide me towards a direction on what I might want to do in cybersecurity. So
Ooh.
yeah, that's another benefit of working for a tech company. You don't have to stay in the field that you're in tech. There's so many different roles in tech. You can it's and now you have access to that direct access because you're working with these people.
Yeah. You know what's so good about what you just said is that that's something that somebody else on my channel said before, is that literally you can, somebody else said that on the podcast, like you could literally, once you're in a tech company, that network can literally take you anywhere you want to go. In my company, SDRs are kind of seem like the entry level position for any particular field, which is very interesting. I mean, you have to show that you can do it. Of course, they
Yeah,
have like a little bit of a mentorship or even an internship within a department. Sometimes, depending on what the field is, you might
yeah,
have to get some more credits or classes to learn the skills that apply to that role.
yeah,
But yeah, you're right. Like you could literally navigate that way and say, hey, talk to somebody, say, hey, how could I become a sales engineer here, or how could I become a part of the blue team, red team, purple team, whatever team that they
yeah,
have within the cybersecurity realm. One of the things I love about what I do is that I've also found these different boot camps that have different things, like Level Careers has uh, a cybersecurity boot camp as well. But if you're already in tech, you could leverage those relationships, and they could be like, hey, I know somebody that knows somebody. And then you're like, good. So
yep,
that's a really cool thing to talk about there, that can go into detail about. Well, I'm going to say, Paul, I hope that you do get to the cybersecurity area. I know that's a very, very in demand field right now. everything is going more and more on the cyber side. It already has been for years, but it's getting even to the point where, purchasing food, everything is done through tech. And so right now is the time. If you want to get into cybersecurity, that's a good place to get. So so
Yeah.
you're definitely on it. Well, with that being said, I want to thank you, Paul, for taking the time to speak with me. This has been a great conversation. I know a lot of people could take from the transparency that was shared, the insight that was shared. This is a really good episode for those that were on the cusp of trying to decide what they want to do. If they want to get as an SDR, if they want to go to cybersecurity, if they want to do something else within tech, this was a good episode to see exactly a little bit more about what an SDR does. It's great in regards to the income, but it is a grind, and
Yeah.
that cannot be um, said anymore. It's a grind.
Yeah.
It's a job, and it's a grind. So if that's not your personality, if you're not really a go getter, think about it. Think about it. This is something you want to do. But if you are a go getter, there's a lot of money that could be made. I've interviewed people that made 500,000 plus a year on this channel in tech sales. So the money is there, but it's up to you to decide if this is something that you want to do. And with
Absolutely. And I
Paul,
want to just say,
go ahead, Paul.
before we sign off,
Yeah.
being somebody who's 42 years old and just recently, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, deciding to pivot into a whole nother industry, it's never too late. It's never too late. Limitations only exist in the mind. There's a vast world, especially in tech. It's so in demand. Most of these positions that we're going for, and especially as people of color that are so underrepresented in so many areas of opportunity, that I don't care how old you are and how too old that you think you are, or whatever skills that you think you don't have. There's resources and there's opportunities out there if you want them. If you want it, go after it, and nothing's stopping you but you. That's all I want to say.
The sky's the limit. The sky's the
Absolutely.
limit. So go after it. Don't be afraid, y'all. And with that being said, we want to thank you again for tuning in. Again, put in the comment section how much you appreciated this episode. Let Paul know. Let myself know. We take time to be here for you because we want to provide insight that you may not get other places. You may get it, maybe, but we don't know. So we want to provide that insight for you. That's all I can say for now. But until next time, I hope to see you on the other side. Take care, family.